But first, we start with Memorial Day weekend as it's almost here and more drivers will be hitting the road. Michigan State Police also ramping their patrols up from speeding to seat belts. They're just focused on keeping you safe. Lieutenant Michelle Robinson is here with what you need to know before you head out. It's going to be a busy weekend. We hope everyone has fun, but it's important to stay safe. So what do we need to know if we are driving to our Memorial Day destination?
One of the biggest things that we really want to focus on is there are going to be a lot more individuals out on the roadways this holiday weekend. Anytime you have a traffic or any kind of holiday, you have an increase in traffic. Most importantly, we want people to be very aware of their surroundings, be aware of the other vehicles out on the roadway, be courteous to the other drivers. Keep your speeds down, and most importantly, wear your seatbelts. And that isn't just for your drivers and your passengers, it's for everybody in the back seat as well.
Yeah, it's going to be really busy out there. It always is on Memorial Day weekend, right? People driving, and AAA saying that this year, no exception. They are expecting more people out on the road. So what's like the biggest concern for you guys? What are you guys going to be looking out for as people are driving to their destinations here?
What we look for are impaired drivers. A lot of times individuals will go to family gatherings, or they'll participate in picnics or cookouts, and they will have alcoholic beverages, and a lot of times they'll get behind the wheel. And that is one of the most dangerous things, is when somebody is driving impaired, they're not only putting their lives in danger, but also those that are also out on the roadway. And so we look for those impaired drivers, and we look for, especially during the Click It or Ticket campaign, which starts today and runs through June 1st, we look for those individuals that are not wearing their safety belts.
Yeah, Memorial Day, certainly a great reminder to practice safe driving as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us more about that Click It or Ticket campaign.
Well, the Click It or Ticket campaign is an extra funding source through the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and through the Michigan Office of Highway Safety Planning. And what it is additional law enforcement officers throughout the state, both city, local, county, and state troopers, will be out on the road specifically looking for those individuals that are not wearing their safety belts. And it isn't that we want to write a bunch of tickets, but what we find is that when there is an enforcement campaign, people have a tendency to, when they know that there's something, they know that there's going to be extra patrols, they will then wear their safety belts during this particular time frame. And it does run through June 1st, and we will have extra patrols out on the roadway looking for those violators.
Yeah, so you'll probably see extra troopers out along the roads, maybe 131, 96, 94, all of those major freeways that we all have here in West Michigan. We have some statistics that we want to pull up that kind of shows some of the different numbers. So in 2023, 223 people were killed while not wearing a seatbelt in the state of Michigan. Unrestrained crashes rose from 2022 to 2023. Now, 2023 seatbelt usage was at 92.4%, but that's actually down a little bit from the previous year. And of course, that seatbelt enforcement campaign starts today through June 1st. Now, looking at these numbers, I mean, 223 people killed, that number, we don't like to see that number there. So what are some of the things that you recommend people? Obviously, it's going to be wear your seatbelt, but what are some of the reminders people should be thinking in the back of their head as they get in the car?
One of the most important things that we're finding is that the passengers in motor vehicles, especially in the back seat, we see a lot of unrestrained passengers, unrestrained children. And we do have the new law that came out that any child under the age of 13 must be in the rear seat, must be in a either approved child safety seat or in the seat belt. So half of passenger fatalities are due to not having their safety belts on. We see that if individuals are involved in crashes, that's where a lot of our ejections happen, and that's where the serious injuries or deaths occur. And so we encourage motorists, whomever is in their vehicle, especially when we talk about new teenage drivers. They may not want to enforce that with their friends that are in the back seat, but they need to take that leadership role and say, yes, this is my vehicle. I'm in charge of all of you. I'm in charge of your safety, and make sure that all the passengers are wearing their safety belts, because that's what prevents the serious injuries and deaths from occurring.
How might you start a conversation? Like, let's say I'm a parent, I have a new teen driver. How would you approach that conversation with your kid to make sure, hey, not only do you need to be buckled up, but you also need to make sure everybody in your car is buckled up too?
Right. It's, a lot of times people think that, okay, I have my driver's license and I can get in a car and I can just go. That's a tremendous tremendous responsibility, especially when we talk to young drivers. As a parent, tell your teen that, okay, you have this 3,000-pound vehicle, whatever the weight of the vehicle is, that if you're traveling 55 miles an hour, or if you're on the expressway and you're traveling 70 miles per hour, it takes a lot more time to slow down and to stop that vehicle. And you are the one that's responsible for everybody in your car. It's a tremendous amount of responsibility, especially for our younger drivers. And they don't oftentimes realize that extent of that. So as a parent or a guardian of a young person that's a new driver, let them know that that's their responsibility to make sure that their friends get there safely.
Yeah, it's an important responsibility, as you know, you might have some young people in the car together this coming holiday weekend. You know, we all just want to have fun, and sometimes you don't realize or recognize that, okay, you can have fun, but you also have to be pretty safe too.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes me think back to the days of maybe too many people being in the car, and I would imagine that this is kind of that time of year that you start to see that occurring as well.
Absolutely. And not only that too, but as the weather gets nicer, people are out walking, they're biking, there's a lot more motorcyclists. And you need to be very, very conscious of your surroundings, who's around you. Especially when you're on like the expressway and you're going to switch lanes. We see people, the motorcycles are a little harder to see when you're doing that. And there are blind spots in a vehicle. So you need to take that extra time to not only use your mirrors, but literally turn your body and look behind to make sure that nobody is there. Watch for pedestrians if you are traveling to the beach. There's little kids that are excited to go and play in the water and they want to dart out in front of cars. So there's just a lot more activity in the summertime that we need to be aware of and kind of be a little more alert as we're driving in the summer months.
Yeah, okay, so back to Memorial Day, you were kind of touching on some of the water safety. We've talked about drinking and driving. Don't do that, obviously. But the other thing too is water safety. This is really the first big lake or maybe beach or pool weekend for a lot of people. This unofficial kickoff to summer, if you will. You know, we were talking before we got on Morning Plus this morning about water safety. What are things that people need to keep in mind as they want to have fun, maybe this weekend or throughout the summer?
Throughout the summer and especially this weekend, if you're going to go into Lake Michigan, if it's a red flag, do not go in the water. Do not let young people go in the water. It's red flag for a reason. There's oftentimes you have that undertow that even if someone says, well, I'm a strong swimmer, I can do this, don't take that risk. It can be incredibly dangerous out there. Excuse me, as we talk about as the temperatures rise, don't ever leave a child or a pet in a warm vehicle. It just takes a matter of a couple minutes for that car to heat up to where serious injury or death can occur. And there's so many different things that happen in the summertime that is opposite of winter, where we talk about hypothermia in the wintertime. Now we talk about heat exhaustion. Oftentimes people will be out playing sports, they're out at the beach. Stay hydrated. Oftentimes, we'll see people that exert themselves, and during these warm summer months, if you're in the lake, it doesn't matter if you're in the water, pool safety is another one. Make sure that you are watching any youngsters in a pool. It just takes a matter of a couple seconds before they slip in, and if you're barbecuing, you're with friends and you're not paying attention, we don't want any kind of tragedies to happen over the summer.
Yeah, of course. We just want to have a fun, safe summer, right?
Absolutely. And those red flags, I wanted to go back to that because they're there for a reason, and people often think that's when it looks the most fun to jump on into Lake Michigan because the waves are high, but we also have all of our invisible currents, and it's like a miniature ocean. But what kind of resources does it take away from you all when you have these incidents of people are going missing in the water or these drowning concerns? I imagine that puts a burden on you.
Well, it's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is they see these drownings in Hollywood, in the movies, where someone's thrashing and they're screaming. That usually doesn't happen. If somebody is in distress in the water, you'll see them kind of bob up and then go back underwater again. And so anytime someone goes underwater and does not resurface, that is when all of the local agencies, our department will bring in dive teams, first responders, to try to locate that individual as quickly as possible to do a water rescue. And oftentimes that, we try to focus on, okay, where was that person last seen? And so the best thing, and when we talk about those red flags, I can't stress that enough, that yes, it's fun to play in the waves, but even the strongest swimmers can be
Yes.
overtaken by some
Yeah.
of those, and it's a threesome as far as when the waves hit. So you may be able to resurface after that first one, but when the second one and the third one hit you right after one after another, it's hard to recover from that, even some of the strongest swimmers. So when there's red flags, just observe Mother Nature from the shore.
Yeah, absolutely. As we kind of round out our interview here, what is one thing or a couple things you want people to keep in mind as we head into the first big summer weekend?
We want everybody to have a great time. Spend time with family and friends. I come on here and I'm kind of a downer when I talk
Not at
about
all.
some
This
of
is
the
good
things that
info.
can
Great
happen.
reminders.
Yeah.
But we want everybody to have a great time. We want everybody to have a safe summer. That's why we are out there enforcing. We don't want any kind of tragedies to happen to any family
Yeah.
over the summer. And so just stay sober behind the wheel and get there safely and have a wonderful summer.
Yeah, and importantly, have those conversations with your family right now so they get all the safety tips in mind as we start summer. Michelle, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a great holiday weekend as well.
You as well.
All right.